Hey everybody, so this is DeathGroundReviews, and I've just been enjoying movies with...
This is Corypheus. How you doing?
Yes, welcome Corypheus. We just... and I want to introduce Lightning, our cute little collie coonhound pup. She's grown up quite a bit now.
She's not going to say anything.
She's not going to say hello, though, but she's right here, enjoying being petted. And we love her and welcome her to the show, so... But yes, we just finished watching The Conjuring. 2013, this film came out. We'll get more into the review of it, but there were things I liked about it and things I was kind of disappointed. I went into it with high expectations, and maybe that's why I kind of got brought down to another level actually watching it. But
I imagine most people know it's based on the allegedly true story of the Perrin family, where they had purchased a home, and it turns out to be haunted by the spirit, apparently of a accused witch named Bathsheba, which is just a great name for a witch. That's just a very witchy name. Got to give credit for that.
It's a creepy name.
And the story is about the process of them trying to exorcise and discover the intricacies of this particular spirit. Apparently there's also several other spirits. This is your spoiler. If you guys haven't seen it, spoiler alert.
You should have. It came out in 2013. Come on, horror fans.
But apparently this witch she had killed her own child and hung herself. And then she would go around, and everyone who would come in, she would try to get the mother to kill their children. And I guess there was a maid that she convinced to kill herself, as one is wont to do. And so eventually they are able to exorcise the demon, but only after it possesses the mother, who tries to kill one of the daughters.
Yeah, and that's the big climactic conflict in the film,
which has got to be an awkward moment later on in the years.
Yeah, the flashbacks of when you're sitting having dinner with mom, and then you remember, blood splattering against covering over her face and it ripping away, and
you're like, hopefully mom's not possessed again.
Yeah, right.
So what'd you think of it?
What did I think of it? There were elements of it that I absolutely loved. For instance, one thing I want to say, I loved the inclusion. Well, and they had to. It was based on the true story, though. But I liked the Warren family element, the demonologist that investigated. I loved how they showed scenes of them talking about the process of possession. You had the infestation, and when the entity enters the home, and then it starts attacking the one that's psychologically susceptible to it, and then eventually fully possesses it. All those background details, I thought, gave the story a lot more substance, a lot more depth. Gravitas, I think was the word you used while we were watching it. And I enjoyed that part of it. It's kind of like when you watch the movie Halloween, how you said the doctor in the film that dealt with Mike Myers in the institution. He adds that depth to that story, and I felt that was great in this one.
Yeah, we'll have to do one on Halloween too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually had heard really good things about this movie, and so I think, like you, I walked in pretty hopeful. I thought the production was really good. I thought the acting was really good.
Yeah, definitely.
The interesting thing was, at first I really thought the guy who played the dad, the Roger Perron.
Yeah, the truck driver.
Yeah. At first I thought, I just wasn't liking his performance, but by the end I actually was digging it. He did it low key.
Yeah.
There was nice way, because everything else was so crazy that having that just kind of scared out of your wits, but I'm holding on to dear life, and I'm just trying to focus one moment at a time, kind of worked.
Yeah.
It made it, because if everyone had been screaming, it had just been too much, I think.
Right.
So
you would have become exhausted.
Yeah.
Had it just been constant chaos, screaming,
Yeah.
You need that variation.
And he was pretty good in the whole thing. So I was a little bit concerned at first that I wouldn't like that, but as he grew on me, and by that climactic scene, it really did hit for me.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I think I spent a good portion of the movie making smart aleck remarks.
And reason he's bringing that up, guys, is that affected me. There's a lot of the scenes where the mother's being flung about, and into the wall and down into the cellar, and Coryphaeus, yes, was making smart aleck remarks the whole time, and I just couldn't help but laugh. And so I wasn't scared at all. And so it fooled me into believing this isn't that good. This film sucks. It's advertised as scary, but it's really a ridiculous comedy, and it shouldn't be. And I feel robbed. I don't know. It's tough though because we have so many demonic possession movies out there.
Yeah, it is kind of a. It's kind of a. I think they did as good as you could with what they had. And I think it was a good movie. I enjoyed watching it. I wasn't scared particularly at all.
Right. I wasn't.
There was one or two scenes that I'm like, that was nice. I like how they did that.
The scene where the mother gets trapped in the cellar, and although we did make fun of the line of, do you want to play hide and clap?
Yeah.
Where the hands appear behind her back, though, and clap, and then the match goes out, that did kind of tingle my spine a little.
Yeah.
I liked that part. And I did like the part when, I think it was the demonologist guy. No, it was his wife. She gets trapped in the cellar, and all she has is the flashlight. That part worked well. It was creepy because there's darkness surrounding, and then this island of light that the flashlight makes, and you're like, oh crap, what's going to appear in that area? What's going to appear over there? That part tingled my spine too. I liked it. I liked it.
There was some good stuff like that. I enjoyed that little thing. I enjoyed a few of the little. The actress who played Lorraine did a really good job when they were going through the house for the first time with the family. She kept her reaction subtle enough that it didn't, if she'd come in there mouth agape every time she saw something, it would have been too much. But the way I think that was the one thing. The actors actually did a good job keeping things that low key until the moment came.
Right. And they're experienced
with
this, and so that was believable.
Yeah.
It's like, and I liked how they approached it skeptical too at first. Like, there's usually a rational explanation.
Yeah.
Which they probably did really tell people at times.
And even showing the situation in which they found a house that wasn't haunted and were able to explain it.
Right.
It gives it a little more, okay, we're going into
You
this.
sympathize with them more, because part of me was feeling that way. I was like, yeah, that's how I would feel. I'm like, I'm sure it's some pipe creaking or some floorboard creaking,
Yeah.
It makes the audience more willing to tag along, because we want to tag along with the demonologist going, yeah, there's probably some real rational explanation.
Yeah, so I think overall it was good. I'm kind of with you on that. I think the problem being is that demon possession has become the go-to for scary.
Yeah.
And for so many different things. I mean, there's so many situations where you have paranormal activity, such as paranormal activity.
It starts with The Exorcist, and they're all trying to outscare that one. And none of them can beat it.
Yeah. So, and that's where it comes down to is sometimes, you have the magic of a movie like this, and of something like The Exorcist that just works. It scares. It's that epic battle of good and evil played out on a really small stage.
And the other thing I'd say about The Exorcist that worked well, similarly to The Conjuring, is again it had that depth of, there was the conflict between the priest and the spiritual battle, but then there was also the battle with psychology going on. Mm-hmm. Well, no, maybe this is just somnambulism. Maybe it's just sleepwalking. Maybe it's other manifestations psychologically. But then there's the priest saying, no, this is real. This is a devil. You know, and that added a scarier depth to it. It wasn't just spooks poking up, making you jump.
Yeah.
It got you at a deeper level, primally, and in your heart. Yeah. Conjuring did the same thing to some extent, I feel.
And it did. I think of most of the possession stories, I think this one actually worked better than a lot of them.
Right.
Definitely worth seeing. In fact, we were looking through some information on it, and this was kind of fun. We found out. So the Cinema Score reported that audiences gave The Conjuring an A- grade from A to F.
Nice.
And it was the first horror film to receive an A grade from the company. Apparently Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 85% approval and weighted it had a weighted average at 7.2 out of 10.
Nice.
Which I actually, I would say is probably accurate.
Yeah. It was well made. We can't deny that.
So, though there was tons of stuff that it just made me laugh. There were just so many little things.
It infected me.
So it just, there was some great little scenes about with the kids doing that, and actually, the kids did an excellent job in this, and that's what's really hard is because there's no real argument when it comes to things like cinematography, or the acting or the writing. It's just, I think you have to be in the exact right mood to hit one of those and have it be really scary.
Okay.
Like the cop in it. What was that cop?
Oh, the one that got bit in the neck?
Yeah, he got bit in the neck. And I gotta be honest with you, like, was he there for comic relief? Was that his job? Like, was he supposed to be there for comic relief?
You know, to be honest, I barely remember any of the parts with him.
Because he
was forgettable for me.
He kind of had that. That 80s porn star mustache.
I do remember this mustache. Yeah.
And the slicked hair, and he just always. And even in the middle of something, he had more of a smarmy look on his face. Like something's going on that most people would be scared of. Although he did a great job of being afraid in, like, when he met up with the maid. And the maid's like, look what she made me do. And that's the other thing. Okay, what is up with these ghosts that just hang around? Like, why would you hang around? I've never understood that. Okay, so story time with Corpheus here. When I was back east for a while, I was with a family, or got to know a family that lived right next to a graveyard. Okay, and we were over there, me and the guy I was living with, and it's kind of hard because most people wouldn't know what a mission was. So, but we were over there, and he was asking him. He was going, so just kind of half joking. He's like, so do you guys ever see ghosts? And you'd have to know that, okay, we're talking like backwoods Vermont with people who make the mom or the father and daughter combo in American Gothic look positively gleeful. Like, these people, there was no such thing as a joke. Like, everything was somber in life. And the guy looks at us and says, yeah, all the time we see him over there. And the guy I was with, he's sitting there going, what? I'm laughing. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but it was just funny to watch his reaction.
such a different thing. How else to react?
And a lot of those people, especially kind of back east in that area that I was, most people you talk to believed in ghosts. Most people had at least one story in which they had met a ghost.
Okay.
And so they would talk about some of the stuff they'd seen. They're like, oh yeah, I saw a guy's stove, this kind of hat, and this guy, this one's fairly normal, this one. And they would actually try to find him on days that they were bored. They would like go into the graveyard and be like, oh, I think it's probably this guy. So the guy who was there with us, he goes, well, aren't you scared? And that old man gave the best piece of advice I'd ever been given on this subject. He turns to him, he looks at him and says, don't fear the dead. It's the living you got to worry about.
Yeah. Sounds like the line that should have been in Pet Sematary, right?
But that's what I always have the hardest time with this ghost thing, because even if you're going into the occult and you go into the study, you kind of have to let them in. That's the point.
Invite the demon in.
Yeah, or the spirit in these cases, or the demonic spirit because she was a witch.
Right.
Maybe it was just a misspell in the newspaper, the old newspaper. We don't know. But the power that this is the whole thing, is you go in, if you ever study that kind of stuff, these things, they never really follow too closely on that, because how was she getting so much dang... I don't know. I don't understand.
How was she getting so powerful?
Yeah, so powerful, so quick. I mean, I get... With 5 kids, okay, I guess. But...
And their minds are sort of a portal for it to...
I guess they're more open to... Because it's almost like when you talk...
They're really emotional.
Yeah. Because it seems like if you talk to people who believe this and they go and try to study it, it always is the same thing. It's like your emotions feed them.
Yeah.
And so maybe it does work in that situation. But for most of these stories, I just don't understand. It's like you suddenly, out of nowhere, this ghost has this unbelievable power. And you're like... 5 seconds ago, you were stopping clocks, and now you're grabbing them and tossing them around the room. I get it. We put up religious iconography to get them violent, to try to get a response. I'm having a hard time. It seems like they would have been better off just ignoring her and not bringing anyone in, and then eventually she'd have gone away.
I see your point on that. Yeah.
So movie, I would say definitely, 7 out of 10. I'd say 70% is what the grade I would give it. I'd say if you're there with some friends, and either you're in the mood,
and you're willing to just in the mood and willing to just to forgive that detail.
Just the whole thing. You'll find when you do it, sometimes you're like, no, I'm not with you. I guess that was my problem. Sometimes they just couldn't take me to the next level.
They couldn't suspend the disbelief enough.
And I actually believe that these things can happen.
Right.
I just couldn't believe it the way they were telling me.
There's just so many ways you can prevent inviting it into you, I guess.
Well, and it was like, she's keeping trapped the spirits of this boy and this mother and this maid, and everyone around is dying, and there's these dying over here, and... You're like, who is this woman?
Yeah. Why is it so powerful?
Like, all she did was kill her own child and then hang herself.
Right. Why all this power of hell suddenly summoned to her?
I don't know. At least with the Exorcist, it makes sense. It's a demon, right? The child has been deceived. They've gone through this thing. There's a buildup that you follow, that you get. It's kind of like they just are like, it's a ghost, automatically scary. And that's my problem. Ghosts are not automatically scary.
Nope.
And you can't just be like, see, ghost, ooh. And because if you've ever had any experience that feels like, or that, they're not scary. The only thing that scares people is like, oh, I don't know what's going on. But if you believe in that kind of stuff anyways, and it happens... It's not that scary. You're like, oh, The clock stopped.
Well, battery could have run out.
Or even if you believe, something must have happened at 3:07. I think I'm going to go ahead and just switch this.
I guess the pattern of 3:07 would be kind of uncanny.
But even if it was, like, I lived in an apartment where the TV would just turn on occasionally. Okay?
Right.
You know what I did? I'd come in and turn it off.
Yeah.
That's it.
But see, you weren't giving it power. You weren't emotionally feeding it, Jesse. And so it starved and went away eventually.
Sorry, at some point, the dad, the Roger Perrin was the guy I liked the most because it seems like if he'd have been the guy, the ghost would have just kind of went away. It'd been like, whatever.
Right.
Sorry, my rant is over. Ghosts, not inherently scary.
You got to find a way to make them scary.
And I think they did. I think that it was actually it was a pretty somewhat scary movie. I think if I had been in a different mood that day, I still would have made jokes. That's who I am. And it didn't capture my attention enough for me to not make the smart aleck remarks.
Right. No, I hear you.
How about you?
Probably the same. Probably, I do have a fascination about, not a deep, obsessive one, just a mild fascination about the Warren family and maybe looking into more about them and some of their other investigations.
Apparently, besides the Conjuring series, The Haunting of Connecticut and the Amityville Horror are both based off of cases that they studied.
See? There's some more to look into right there.
So we should do the Amityville Horror.
We should. And we will. No, yeah, I'd give it about a 72. For me, it was a little different reaction. When they would bring up some other person she killed, I would want to go more detail into it. And then it would jump somewhere else. And I kind of just got annoyed by it. It was just too scattery for me on some of that. And I wanted it more focused like The Exorcist, I guess.
And maybe had they focused it a little more, it would have been easier to hold the attention. Maybe it would have handled those things. Because it does. Yeah, it was like, suddenly here's the maid. Well, wait, you mentioned the maid once.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal with the maid? I want a maid. I don't care if she's a ghost, as long as she'll do the dishes. I'm not picky. The kid, I get that, but it was, even that was kind of weird because it was the kid goes and hides. Okay, at least they built the kid up, the Roy, whatever his name was.
Okay,
they built him up with the girl sleepwalking and banging her head against the.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is where he hides when he's scared. Okay, and also way overdone. Little kid with a toy that's haunted.
Oh, the wind-up thing.
Yeah, I'm over it.
There was one scene I did like with that. Again, it was in the cellar when the Lorraine, I think her name was. That's the demonologist.
Yeah,
wife, right? When she was in the cellar with the flashlight, that part it worked because you're just wondering what the heck's on the edge of that mirror. What's going to appear there? That one did get my spine tingling. But no, the overall concept, it did kind of push me to giggles a little bit.
So I will say, for this, I would say a fun movie to watch.
You bet, yeah.
This is a fun one. You should definitely watch it. We're being a little overly critical because we're doing a review. But definitely fun. Yeah. Not as scary as... If you're a horror fan, this is not as scary as it was said to be.
Nope.
But it is a fun one, and it's a good one if you've got a group of mixed between horror fans and novices. I would say this is a great novice scary movie.
A good one to introduce someone to the horror genre with, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys, that concludes our review of The Conjuring. This has been DeathGroundReviews, the monster that devours horror, suspense, and all those things of the fantastic. And I've enjoyed watching movies with Cora Fias.
Pleasant dreams.
Yes, pleasant dreams. We'll see you guys.
See ya.